Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar, Why Don't I Show Up on Google, Part 2. If you can hear me, please go ahead and type in that you can hear me okay, as we're waiting for a couple more people to show up. Awesome. People can hear me. Great. Well, Ross is very prompt and likes to start on time, so I want to make sure he has the full time that we have allotted today for the webinar. So why don't we just go ahead and get started. Why don't I show up on Google, Part 2, and what you can do about it. This is really what you can do about it. And for myself, I am today's moderator. I am Matt Campbell. I'm a former DJ, as you can probably hear, and purchasing manager for 14 years. I also own my own online business, myweddingsongs.com, that Ross has helped me grow throughout the 3 years at Horizon Web Marketing. And if you want to contact me, you'll have my email there on the slide that will be available afterwards. If anybody has any questions, on the right hand side you do have the GoToWebinar chat. Just type in your questions and answers, and we'll do our best to answer the questions at the end, as time allows, of course. The slides and other bonus materials for the presentation are under the Handouts tab. That's also on the GoToWebinar on the far right that you should be able to see. And if you don't see it, just go ahead and click on the expand on the upper right as well. So we are recording today's session, and you will be sent a link to the recording within 24 hours. It's okay to share the recording link with friends and colleagues. If we do run over time answering questions or for any other reason, you have to leave, check out the recording for whatever you missed, so you can refer back to it, and in case there's something that you missed or you didn't have time to act on. So the Search Engine Academy and Horizon Web Marketing, who are we? So the Search Engine Academy is a global alliance of SEO traders founded in 2002. Horizon Web Marketing is a boutique web marketing agency, and SEO training organization. I personally am headquartered in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we offer SEO workshop training in Las Vegas, Denver, and Salt Lake City, and offering online SEO training wherever you are. So today's presenter is Ross Barefoot. He's the Chief SEO Strategist at Horizon Web Marketing. He has 35 years in small business management. He's a programmer, web developer, SEO consultant. SEA stands for Search Engine Academy, Certified Master SEO training, or teacher training workshops in Denver, Salt Lake City, and Las Vegas. He is also Google AdWords certified professional. So at this time, I'm just going to turn it over to Ross to go ahead and get started.
Thank you very much, Matt, for the introduction, and I'm assuming most people here are coming back from the first session, so welcome back. I'll tell you quite honestly, this was a really tough webinar to prepare for. I've done quite a number of webinars, but the thing that was so tough about this one is trying to pare down to just a few actionable items at the vast field of SEO. And so we'll see how it goes. I did not go through and do a hard rehearsal of this presentation, so I'm a little uncertain on the time. So bear with me if we run a little over or a little under. That's going to be just part of the impromptu nature of things here. But we'll do our best to keep it within enough time, and we'll stay on the line and answer questions even if we go over. So make sure you have your questions handy. I won't be able to answer questions during the presentation. I'm absolutely horrible at multitasking. That's why I have Matt here helping me out, kind of keeping track of the questions. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait until the end of the session to deal with any questions or comments. If you need my attention During that time period, you might have to come to my office and throw a shoe at me. So now let's get into what we're here for today. Remember that we did a part one on this, which is we learned that basically having a nice website doesn't really guarantee that Google's going to show anything for your website and search results. Now, you didn't need to show up at a webinar to know that, because that's just part of, I think, the experience of probably the majority of small business people particularly. And the reason, of course, typically is that the visibility in search results is going to translate to whatever level of traffic you have. So if you're invisible in search results, you're going to face a lot of empty seats in your ballpark, as this metaphor we used last time bears out. Well, we also talked about the 1, 2, 3 of ranking and how it was fairly simple in just a broad kind of broad picture. And then number one was making your site search engine friendly, because Google Spider, their automated program, has to be able to crawl and index your website. They've got to be able to understand your website, or you don't really have any hope. Once they do that, you need to make sure that you have one or more web pages that are relevant to whatever a person is searching for. If you don't demonstrate that relevancy to Google, they're not going to really pay much attention to you. Now, as far as authority and trust is concerned, that's the third part that we talked about, and it's divided into two subparts. First, Google has to trust your information, and they do that by seeing whether other websites are linking to it, because that constitutes a vote in favor of it, and they say, okay, that means basically you know what you're talking about, you have a certain measure of authority, you've been able to convince other people to link to your content. But in addition, Google needs to trust that you're a real business, and so they look for something that we defined as NAP consistency, and that's name, address, and phone number. Now, remember, we also talked about my friend Thomas Foote. He's the Grand Junction chiropractor down the street from me. He's got a website called appliedchiropractic.com, and we did some diagnostic on his website, and we found that it looked like it was probably search engine friendly, so it passed our first criterion. But when it came to criteria 2 and 3, that is relevancy and then this authority and trust, basically it failed those judgments. So now what's ahead in this session is we're going to take a look at improving his odds, particularly, and by extension your odds of ranking with Google. Now we're going to do that in a real basic method. We're going to use something called a content management system, typically abbreviated as CMS, in order to optimize our title, our headline, and the body copy for relevancy. And then we're going to take a look at a service called Bright Local to diagnose our authority in the first place, and then begin the process of cleaning up our name, address, phone number consistency. Now, here's what you're going to need. When you go back to this, look at the PDF, or take a look at your notes, or look at the video recording, because we will record it. If you wanted to do the steps that I'm going to show you here, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need access to your website through a CMS, a content management system. And here's some examples. WordPress is far and away the most popular and probably the best platform for doing this kind of stuff, but there's also GoDaddy, Wix, Joomla, many more that there's not the space to put in here. But basically a way to access and change the content of your web pages. And you also would need at least a trial subscription to Bright Local. Now, I actually spaced putting the link in here for that trial subscription to Bright Local, but it's in last week's material. In the handout section for this week, you have both sets of PDFs, and within that is a link for a trial subscription to Bright Local. So, that having been said, are you guys ready to get to work? Well, or at least watch somebody get to work, right? So number one, make it friendly. And we won't dwell much on this, because when it came to our example website, appliedchiropractic.com, we already took a look, and all of his pages are making it into Google's index, so it is pretty friendly. Now, what if yours is not, though? What if you don't have that advantage? Well, we will not be doing a tutorial today on Google Search Console, but it is the best tool. It's absolutely free, and it's a suite of tools that Google makes available to webmasters to use specifically for this purpose of making your website search engine friendly. Now, there's a link to it. You can also just go to google.com/webmasters/tools. And if you're not set up for Google Search Console, I am going to be posting a quick tutorial to show you how to get it set up. And that tutorial is found at the link that you see there. If you go there right now, you're not going to find anything. That is going to be posted this coming Monday. Actually, that date is wrong, Monday the 30th. It's going to be Monday the 20th. So I guess you'll just have to remember that the slide is incorrect on that point. Now also, I'm planning a fundamentals webinar just on Google Search Console. So again, to dig more into this search engine friendliness matter, on April 6th, it's already on our schedule, we have a webinar that's designed to help non-technical people use Google Search Console for improving the friendliness of your website and also for other things as well. So if you're interested, even if you're a technical person, it might help you, but particularly if you're just a business person trying to make your website and your web marketing better, keep that webinar in mind as well. And once again, it's a free webinar. Now let's move on to the parts where appliedchiropractic.com failed the test. And the first of those two, and number 2 of our 3 criteria, is to make it relevant. Now, we're going to use a content management system, as I mentioned, and we're going to tune the title, the headline, and the body text. So those are the 3 areas. The one thing I do want to point out is when we go to work here on the title, we want to use a maximum of 70 characters. We don't have that kind of limitation when it comes to the main headline or the body text. And again, for this step, you would need to access the page you want to change. I want to give you a word of caution as well. Anything you do in optimizing text should sound natural for the context in which it's placed. It shouldn't sound forced or artificial. And it should not just stuff a whole bunch of keywords into the text, because Google looks for that kind of stuff and they consider it a negative. In this case, we're forced to use GoDaddy's CMS. And please don't construe this as a recommendation to use GoDaddy, because I find it very awkward. But Applied Chiropractic is using it, and I thought it would be good. Everybody demonstrates everything with WordPress nowadays, which is great. I do that as well. But I thought it'd be good to take a look at GoDaddy's CMS, because it'll show you sometimes how you have to get a little creative to get into this stuff. So at this point, I didn't do this much last time, but I'm going to switch over to one of my browser windows. And as you can see, I have way too many of them open. And we're going to take a look at this as a live demo. So here I have already logged into the Applied Chiropractic management tool for GoDaddy. And GoDaddy, you'll see if you go even to manage the website, it brings you to a screen like this. We click on Domains to manage. Now, it doesn't really sound very intuitive. Once I get here, it's very confusing, in my opinion. So I'm going to click on the domain again. And once the domain opens up, notice up here they have what they call their website builder. They used to call it Website Tonight. And that's what we're going to click on. Now we are in to GoDaddy's CMS, their content management system, and we have a choice here that says Edit Site. And we're going to click on Edit Site, and we have the home page of the website. Now remember, we need to change the title. And every CMS, you'll find this in a different place. If you have a hard time locating it, you can always send a question to us and we can help you out. And I would say it's pretty non-intuitive when it comes to GoDaddy, because you have to go actually to where it says Site Settings in order to change the page title. And actually, that's not even the setting that I need to go to. Let's see. Here we go. Once you're in site settings, you also need to select on this Search Engines tab. Now this is where GoDaddy changes the title tag of their pages. And remember last time we talked about how the relevancy, in my opinion anyway, was not very good to what people typically search for. So his title says, on his page, says chiropractic care, acupuncture, and then the name of the business, plus then followed by the city. There's a few things wrong with this. One is it's longer than 70 characters, so Google is not going to show it very well in search results. And just so you know, this is the part, if you go to search results and you look at the part that's the link right here, you see where that is, like this Rimrock Wellness Center. And you see how the 3 dots are there. This is because they have composed a title that's too long. And so Google can't show the whole thing. That's the case with Applied Chiropractic's title here, but that's where it shows up, is on the search results page. It's also the most important element for establishing relevancy. Now, what we had talked about before is the fact that usually when someone's searching for a chiropractor, they're using the word chiropractor, and we want to try to establish our relevancy very closely to that. So I'm going to be very straightforward here. I'm going to change this to read, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to start with the word chiropractor, follow it with a city name because this establishes geographical relevancy. And then I'm going to follow that with the business name. One of the things, so it's Applied Chiropractic Health Center. And if my keyboard is a little loud, my apologies for that. So Applied Chiropractic Health Center. Couple of provisos here, and that is usually we don't want to repeat words in the title tag. And we definitely don't want to just stuff a bunch of keywords in the title tag. So what we've done here is we've been able to put into the title tag as the first word chiropractor, and it's the most common search phrase, chiropractor Grand Junction. So we also have geographical relevancy using the city. It's relevant to this particular area. Then in the name of the business, we're not repeating any words. Applied Chiropractic Health Center, none of those things are repetitions. So this would not break any of our typical rules for creating a good title tag. The fact that we put chiropractor first is intentional, and we call that, in the world of SEO, we call that prominence. And that means that the term that's most important is towards the beginning of the element, of the title element. Now, last time I did this webinar, someone asked about what's called the meta description tag, and that is right here. We're not going to optimize this in this particular demonstration, and the reason for that is because the description tag is not a ranking factor with Google. It is important. It's important for a different purpose, but not for ranking. Now, at some point, we're going to do I've done a webinar before on creating the perfect title and description tag. If anybody is interested in more information on that, I'll dig that webinar link up and send it to you. Just email me for that. Now, within GoDaddy's CMS, you can go to each of these various pages of the website, and you change the title by navigating to the website right here. And then you click OK in order to set that as the title. The one other thing to keep in mind with a CMS like GoDaddy is to click on Publish before your changes are going to show live. All right, so we've taken care of the title tag. Remember I said we also need to take care of the headline. This is also known as the H1 tag. Last week you may recall that we used a tool called Open SEO Stats, which is a browser plugin. We identified that the headline was this right here, services we offer. And I mentioned to you at that time that I felt that created no relevancy for what we were trying to be relevant for, and that we needed to modify it, and that's what we're going to do right now. And in this particular builder, I can modify it by just typing into GoDaddy's box. And so I'm going to do it like this. A chiropractor you can trust for. All right, it may not be the perfect execution here, but it'll get the job done. And often when it comes to these tools, you have to move things around to try to resize, as I'm doing here, change elements and so forth. Not crazy about it, but like I say, it will get the job done. This is now the one other thing I need to show you is what makes this a headline. So I'm going to click on this up here, and I'm going to click on the settings. Actually, I'm not going to click on the settings. I'm going to double click to edit. And this is what we were doing before. It's basically a different set of settings. So up here, you see where it says heading 1. Now this corresponds in HTML to an H1 tag, and that's what it will create for this element. If I drop this down, you see there's various types of styles and elements that GoDaddy is offering you when you're working within their CMS. The typical best practice in SEO is we want one H1 tag on a page, one primary headline, and this is it. So last week what we identified was that there was only one. That means we don't have to look for and change any others. Now that's the second of our 3 components of relevancy, and the third is very simple. It's the text of the page. And so here we have to change the text in a way that it puts chiropractor into the text of the page instead of using chiropractic all the time. So let's just try it like this. Begin as a chiropractor in Grand Junction in 1981. All right, so we have it one time. We don't want to put it in here too many times. Google really dislikes that. So down here, let's try putting it in here as well. Dr. Foote believes, and since he's a friend of mine, I know this is true. Excuse the cough. So Dr. Foote believes that an ethical chiropractor always strives for the quickest recovery possible. And let's just make this sound a little better. And creates an environment in which he has had to learn. Okay, as you can tell, this is a live demo. Creates an environment that can help his patients to the quickest recovery possible. Now, I don't want to labor this point too much because, of course, we're on limited time. What I would probably do on this page is I would try to work the term chiropractor in maybe 1 or 2 more times naturally into the text of the page. I think this is enough, though, to give you the idea of how it is that we try to establish relevancy on a page. Now, GoDaddy's CMS has saved our changes. The only thing that's left to do in this particular CMS is to publish these pages live. I'm actually going to go ahead and do that. All right. So, wasn't that fun? Actually, I don't know if you can tell, I don't work in GoDaddy very much at all, and that's intentionally speaking. But we were able to get the job done. Now, if you're on a site like Wix or Squarespace, both of which I've worked with, and I'll tell you that it's often still a search to try to find out where you change the H1, that is the headline, and the title tag of the page. Now, what you need to do is go back and do this for each page on your website. Now, here's what you need to do first. You need to determine which keyword you want each page to rank for. And you don't need to create different pages for minor variations of your keyword. So for example, we would not create a page for Dr. Foot for chiropractor Grand Junction and a different page for chiropractors Grand Junction. Google is very smart about determining what pages are about based on the theme of the page. However, keywords are still important because people think in terms of the keyword, so we probably would do a different page for chiropractic and probably would do a different page for acupuncture Grand Junction, things like that. Once you know which keywords you want each page to rank for, then you make changes based on how you've matched up those terms with either your existing pages or new pages that you create. Naturally, that does raise a question if you're thinking about this, and that is, how do you determine the keywords you want to use? Once more, I'm going to have to defer a subject, but you're in luck because I've already done a free webinar on keyword research. It's under the Search Engine Academy website. The video is going to be freely available only for about another 30 days, so you might want to go and take a look at that, and it will give you a lot of details about determining what keywords you want to target for your website. Then go back into those pages, and let me answer another question that I got one time when I did this webinar, and that is, well, aren't there more things that we can do? And yes, there are many more things you can do on the page, but here's my goal. I want to create a well-defined small group of targets that the average business person can actually get to. So that's why we're only looking at 3 elements on each page. If you do those 3 elements on each one of your pages, you're going to be far ahead of your competitors, at least when it comes to establishing relevancy for your website. So let's move on to item number 3, making it authoritative and trustworthy. So in part 1, we discussed the 2 ways that Google determines this. One is backlinks, and those are links from other sites to your site. And the second one is business listing directories, the modern day equivalent of the yellow pages. This is to establish that name, address, and phone consistency. We use very frequently a tool called BrightLocal, and I mentioned it last time. And one of the things that we use it for is in order to assess what the current authority of a website is. Now, what I'm showing you on the left is the various tool choices that you have within a BrightLocal account. And you have all these available to you if you sign up for a free trial. So it's not like they just give you a subset of choices. And I'm grateful for that. I always hate these free trials where you get into it and everything you want to do is not included in the free trial. So in this case, we're going to take a look at the backlink profile using BrightLocal's tools. There's actually 2 places you can go within their tool to do this. Now, one is the local search audit. If you recall the webinar from last week, I showed a screen capture of that, of where we compared the average of competitors versus what the backlink profile was for appliedchiropractic.com. But there's actually a more in-depth way to do this using their Google My Business tool. And that's to make a determination whether or not you need, first of all, to build more backlinks. So at this point, what I'm trying to assess is, okay, should building links to my website be a priority? And keep in mind that I would never say that you don't want to build more backlinks, but we're trying to keep this practical and real. So if we don't need to really put a lot of effort into building backlinks, then we're going to wait in order to be able to do that perhaps down the road, and we'll prioritize other aspects first. This is what I see for applied chiropractic, and it's tied to a specific search result, namely chiropractor Grand Junction, and it's under the Google My Business tool. Now take a look at the first column here that I'm showing, which is really the last column, but it's the first one I'm going to call your attention to. This is a metric that BrightLocal calls website authority. It comes from a company called Moz, who also has their own suite of tools, and they call this domain authority. It's rated on a 1 to 100 scale, or actually a 0 to 100 scale, where 100 is the highest authority, and it's based on backlinks that are pointed at the site in question. When you're in Bright Local, it's going to always show the site you're looking at, the one you've made the subject, at the very top of the results, even if it's invisible in search results, which appliedchiropractic.com is. You can see the website authority. It's typically low compared to competitors. The top 6 results are underneath, and you can see Applied Chiropractic is 5 of 100, and then the number 1 is 11 and 18 and 13 and so forth. Now, just to the left of that are 2 more columns, the number of links and the number of linking domains. Now, what it means by linking domains is if, for example, you had a partner website that is, let's say, a vendor that is linking to you, and on 2 different pages they had a link to your website, you would have 2 links from 1 domain. So hopefully that's pretty clear. The linking domains is the most important column here. And notice that linking domains, it's a very low number. It's only number 1. But if I look down this column, I see 3 other websites that managed to get into the top 6 of Google with only 1 linking domain pointed at their site. And one of those, the Dorenkamp Chiropractic Clinic, you can see toward the bottom, shows 0 links from 1 linking domain. At which point I need to point out the note at the top that none of these metrics is better than an estimate. And unfortunately, that's kind of a hallmark of SEO. So theoretically, you shouldn't be able to have a linking domain without a link, but somehow that's how it's showing up in this tool. But here's the conclusion that I draw from this. When I take a look at this, it shows me that a backlink profile is not a huge factor. The better our backlink profile, sure, the stronger we're going to be, all other factors being equal. But when it comes to what we should prioritize here, I would say backlinks are not one of our highest priorities. Now let's say that you're in a market where you can see that it requires a higher domain authority and a greater number of linking domains in order to crack into that top 5 or top 10. I'm just going to give you some very, very basic backlink building to-dos and don'ts. So first of all, the very basic way to create these links is to reach out to business partners, professional associations, groups. A good one is Chamber of Commerce, and ask for links to your website. The second one, and for the long term, the best way to create links is to create special online resources that people would want to link to. When it comes to this, you're going to have to get creative. So if I was doing this for Applied Chiropractic, perhaps I'd want to have a resource where people could go and see videos on how to stretch, something that they would want to link to. And your business is going to be, of course, something that you would have to take a look at. And then you would have to educate yourself about link building. And that's this process of encouraging links from other websites to your website. Here's a few don'ts, though, that I want you to take note of, because if you do this wrong, Google might actually penalize your site. So what is wrong? First of all, buying links. Very important. Don't hire some firm that you don't know who comes and says, hey, I'll create 1,000 links for your website. If you go, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the site called Fiverr. You can go on Fiverr and people offer to create 1,000 links for your website for $5. Very, very bad idea. All right. Don't hire a consultant without educating yourself first on what makes a link good or bad. So make sure to do your due diligence. In the case of Applied Chiropractic, we don't really need to go to these steps yet. Again, because we looked and saw that our competitors are ranking pretty well, even though they have weak backlink profiles. I'm going to give you a link to yet another webinar. We just recently at the Search Engine Academy, this isn't a webinar I did, my colleague Steve Scott, who's a certified master SEO trainer in Florida, did a webinar on some fundamental link building ideas. And that also will be up for probably 30 to 60 days. It's another great resource where he covers a number of ways that you can get this done as well. We've talked about backlinks for creating authority, but remember we talked also about this idea of trust. and the need to find and fix inconsistencies in how your name, your address, and your phone number show up across the web. Now, that's called NAP consistency. The thing is, if Google sees that those things are represented consistently across the web, first of all, they're going to trust your business stability and your integrity. If you've got 5 different addresses out there, Google, their algorithms, in other words, their logical processing is going to wonder what's going on with your business. And also, besides trusting your business stability and integrity, they're going to know which business entity that they need to show in their search results, and so they have a greater trust as to what they're going to show. And they are very big nowadays on trying to show only things that are real and accurate to searchers. Let's go back to our example. From last session, we took a look at the backlink, or not backlink, at the profile of some of these listings for Applied Chiropractic. And you can see the top one there, Applied Chiropractic Health Center, is accurate. The next one I have within a red box, actually all of these are inaccurate except for the first and the fourth one, but Yahoo Local says Foot Thomas A. City Search says Merging Chiropractic Care, which has never been a name of the business. So we can see there's some confusion here in terms of these citations. Now the number one NAP cleanup priority is going to be the number one place where one of these citations lives, and that's on Google. And Google allows you to manage all this in a tool they call Google My Business. The way you do this is you locate a business using Google, then you claim the business and prove that you're authorized to manage that business. So let's say you're doing this for your own business. Here I've Googled Chiropractor Grand Junction to see what comes up. This is not our subject website. This is a place called Grand Junction Chiropractic PC. Now, do you notice down there it says suggest and edit, and then after that it says own this business? ? What that means is this listing has not been claimed by anybody. No one is managing it. No one is making sure that it's accurate. Google just found it organically on the web, the business that is. Now, if a business owner has already verified their website, do you see how that goes away? You've got suggest and edit, but you don't have anything there that says, do you own this business? So it's not there, means that somebody else has managed it. This is a step you need to take for your business. Make sure you have control of that listing. Now, you do have tough situations you have to deal with sometimes, and we looked at this last time. Remember, even in Google's own Google My Business directory, there are 2 different ways, 2 different accounts, locations is what Google calls them, for the same business address. One that says Thomas Foot DC, which is not the name of the business, and one that says Applied Chiropractic Health Center, which is the name of the business. Now, we would call this a duplicate listing. And it can be duplicate in the sense we're talking about without having a duplicate name. It means that Google is having to figure out, okay, there's duplicate listings for the same address. It can also go the other way. It could be the same business name but different addresses. Either way, duplicate listings hurt you a lot, particularly when it comes to Google My Business. Now notice I say that you've got to get creative with some of these situations. And because there's no way, if you go into Google My Business and you're looking at these listings, you can't really correct it with the tools that are available to you, at least not at this time, within your Google My Business account. So I'm going to recommend you use a long forgotten tool. I searched back through the archives and I found this thing. It's called a telephone, and you know what? A lot of people don't even think about it because you can't reach anybody by phone nowadays, but you can actually, usually, get Google on the phone. All right, we've been at this for 40 minutes now, so it's time for a break. Any movie fans out there, classic movies? Who's heard of the movie Gaslight? Raise your hand if you've heard of the movie Gaslight. Just gotta know. You see, this is a measure of antiquity. Well, Gaslight is a pretty famous movie. A few of you have. A pretty famous movie. And in it, Ingrid Bergman and Charles Boyer co-star. And Charles Boyer is a husband who's trying to drive his wife crazy and almost succeeds. And he does that by moving things around in the house and then telling her that she was just imagining that it was in a particular location. So why am I bringing this up? You might already know I'm going to tell you to prepare for some gaslighting whenever you get into Google's interface. And I put this slide in about 15 minutes ago because I went in and see this screen capture I'm going to show you did not work when I went back into Google. And I'm going to illustrate that with a demo screen in just a minute. Now, if you want to get phone support, which you have to do to deal with a situation like the one I was showing you, duplicate listings, you go to your Google My Business account. Now I'm going to go back over here to my browser, and normally, let me find the screen that I had for this purpose. If you go to business.google.com and you're not logged in, you'll get a screen like this. And you can see at the top left, it says Google My Business. And over here, you have a choice to sign in. So once you sign in to Google My Business, you're going to get a screen that looks like this. And it's going to show you various locations. You can see that I've got this location for Applied Chiropractic Health Center PC. So this is what it's going to look like. Then when you want to contact Google, you're going to be looking at this little what they call a hamburger menu up at the top left. Once you click on that, it'll say support. Now let's see if this does it for me this time. I'm going to go back to my screen capture here. All right, so when I did this yesterday and created this screen, I saw support on the left, and then when you click on support, it gives you a method to contact them by phone. Now, we'll see if Google is gaslighting me yet again. I'm going to click on support. And this time it gives me a phone number. I click on phone, and it will allow you to choose it. Now, I swear to you, I am not going crazy. Ingrid Bergman and I are in the same position because earlier, when I clicked on support, this did not come up. You were not able to get the phone number choice. Now, the reason I'm making a point of this is, if you go to any of these screens and they don't behave the way you think they should, try going to a different screen. Once I clicked on info and then clicked on support, I was able to get the phone number. Now in this case, notice how I've gone to it and it's exactly the opposite. There's no phone number on this page. So I'm just giving you some fair warning that you need to be able to not think that you're crazy when you go to a page and what you expect to find is not there. I think Google does this just to mess with us. They're probably doing some sort of cognitive study. Who knows what they're doing? After all, they're Google. So let's get back to this. One way or the other, you'll typically find in here a phone support number, and usually Google is pretty good about calling you back. In my case, it took several tries to get those two listings taken care of. And what I asked Google to do is I said, we have duplicate listings for the same business address, and we need to get them merged. So the Google rep actually had me go to the business, take a photo of it, and email her the photo of it to prove that they were the same business. She wanted to see that the name on the signage was Applied Chiropractic Healthcare. So this is the degree that you have to go to. A lot of you, if you've been in organic SEO, you might realize that what we're talking about has traditionally been called local SEO. But increasingly in our work for other businesses, even that are not locally focused, we are finding that it's necessary to get this stuff taken care of in order to get the best ranking results. Now, after you fix Google My Business, you need to keep going in order to try to bring some consistency to your listings. And Bright Local offers a great tool for this. They call it citation tracking. Once you go and set up your account and let it run through. It'll go out to all these third-party citations in order to look for places where your business is represented and to see exactly how it's represented. Now, another great place where you can go in order to see which of those listings are important is the Google My Business tab in Bright Local. And one of the things that I find so fascinating about this is it will show the top competitors. Over here you see these are the top 10 results in the space, result number 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 10. And then as you scroll down this particular report, it will show you which of these directories or other listing sites that the top ranking sites are located in. So you can see, for example, Applied Chiropractic, which it's calling you, is on Facebook. So is everybody else. A lot of his competitors are also represented with a YouTube channel, and he is not. Most of his competitors are represented on Yahoo Local, and he is not. Now, if you go to the actual report itself, I can find it here in one of my many browser tabs. This is, first of all, the actual report for Applied Chiropractic. You can see all these various citation listings here on the left. Now, one of the nice things about this tool, and again, I'm backtracking just a bit. I'm not trying to gaslight you, but if you look over here to the right, it will give you a choice to view the citation. Typically, you can go and view and correct the citation by going to the link that's shown on that button. So now let's go and take a look at this other report I was showing you with the screen capture under Google My Business. And when you do that, it is tied to a particular keyword. So here's a summary, and then here's just a few keywords we've entered. If I go to Chiropractic Grand Junction, okay, then it's going to show me actually, let me go to my summary report. And what we're looking for is the NAP matrix. Here it is. So the NAP matrix is found under, tied to a particular keyword, and here's where we've got a citations matrix, and I call it a NAP matrix for name, address, phone number. So as we look down here, we can see there's a number of these where there's a lot of commonality, and then there's others where there's not so much commonality. And typically what I would do is I'd look for the ones where competitors are being represented, but the website that I'm working on is not. And sometimes you have to scroll down quite a while in order to be able to find areas that you can work on in order to improve the position. But as you can see overall, the overall reflection of this is that the competitors who are ranking well in search tend to be more broadly represented across the various listing directories that are available. Now I'm going to give you one more resource going back to our presentation here, and that is for building these citations. This is actually a great resource that's posted by a competitor of Bright Local, and they have their own suite of tools. And I'm not as familiar with their tools. I'm sure they're very good, but if you go to this particular link, what it will show you is what they consider to be the top or the most important 50 citations. So if we go up here, it says the best citations by country. And so if I go down, I can look at the United States, and these are the top 50 citation sources within the United States, along with hyperlinks that go to those particular citations. So, is that enough information to absorb for right now? Let me go back to our presentation because we're at about 50 minutes into this. So let's do a quick review. For working with search engine friendliness, you need to set yourself up on Google Search Console. For relevancy, you need to use your website's content management system, and you need to get your keywords naturally into the title, the H1 or the primary headline, and the body text of your site. You need to also build backlinks to your site to build authority, and that may be the need for doing that can vary according to how strong your competitors are in this area. And regardless of that, you need to make sure that your name, address, and phone number is accurate and consistently represented both in Google My Business and in third-party directories. And we call these listings citations, and consistent, accurate citations help Google to trust that your business is real. So now, here's how I'm going to close things out. You probably came to this webinar with some expectation to learn about SEO, and I hope I've met that expectation. This was a fundamentals webinar, so we didn't get into a lot of really subtle stuff. But maybe you started to see that we have a particular challenge when it comes to SEO, because what we've looked at here is just the tip of the SEO iceberg. There's a lot of different bunny trails here that we could have gone down. Now, the goal of this webinar was to represent some principles that, if applied, are going to produce measurable improvement for you, and often are going to be enough for you to get the visibility that you need. And that's what I mean by saying that you don't need to see the base of the iceberg to navigate around it safely. So it could be that this webinar is enough to get you the improved visibility that you need. Definitely put these principles to work. And again, as I stated before, if you just do work on the basic principles we've shown you here, you're going to be ahead of at least most small businesses that are out there in the marketplace. If you want to go beyond, start digging into the depths of the subject, at least a few feet below the surface, we offer a class called Real World SEO Essentials, and it's a digitally delivered class. It's divided into a module called Introduction, Basic Understanding, Evaluating Your Website, Making It Search Engine Friendly, and Keyword Research. We also have modules on relevancy, authority, conversion optimization, which we haven't talked about, and then finally, workflow solutions for managing your SEO. Now, you can apply these. This particular course is again digitally delivered, so it's lifetime access. It's on demand. You can watch it, all the various modules whenever. The pricing is $497 for lifetime access. You can also sign up for the first 3 modules for free to try it out before you buy. Now finally, I do want to make sure that I point out we also offer the gold standard in training, which is a workshop-based program in order to supercharge your efforts to really get a handle on the marketing challenges that you're facing in getting the traffic you need for your website. If you want to see where these classes are offered, just click on the link below from the PDF that you're going to have, and you can see the class. We've got workshops coming up later this year in both Las Vegas and Denver. So that's pretty much all that I had on the boards for. And now, Matt, I'm going to turn it back to you and let me know if we have a few questions to answer.
Thank you very much, Ross. Yes, we do have a few questions. I want to start with a question from Barbara that should we change the titles to be descriptive on all of our pages?
Well, I guess I would need to know for sure that I'm answering that question, Barbara. When you say descriptive, let me put it this way. As I had mentioned earlier on the slides, if you look at your website on a page-by-page basis and you determine, okay, I've got page number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you decide what the target is for each of those pages, then the title tag should describe what that target is. So for example, if our target was acupuncture in Grand Junction, then we would want to have a page that talks about acupuncture, perhaps benefits and so forth, and the title tag should reflect that. So in that sense, yes, it should be descriptive on all the pages. And here's something I did not mention, that is, you should not duplicate your title tags on various pages. In other words, every page's title should be unique. So I hope that answered your question, Barbara, but if it didn't, just put a follow-up in the chat.
Okay, another question that somebody submitted was, if the title is longer than 70 characters, will it hurt rankings even if what's on that everybody can see is good?
No, it probably will not hurt your rankings. Here's the downside to that, and let me back up on that and kind of digress a moment. And that is the relevant keywords that you want to rank for should be in the first part of the title tag. In other words, within that 70 characters should have all of the high value words. Now, if the title tag is too long, if that, assuming that that condition is met, it's probably not going to have an impact on your rankings. However, at least not a direct impact. However, if your title tag has compelling features to it that would really cause people to want to click on the title tag, and they can't see that, they're going to click on your listing less frequently, which is going to be, of course, bad for what you really want, which is more visitors to your site. So the answer would be no, it's not going to hurt your ranking, but it's still not a good idea to do it for that other reason of making sure that your message is displayed to searchers.
Great, thank you. So another question is, and I feel the pain with this one, is why are we facing too many fluctuations in rankings?
Yeah, right. I feel the pain with that. We feel the pain with that on. Who asked that question, by the way, Matt?
Uh, Sarev?
Sarav.
Sarav?
Okay. Well, Sarav, yeah, we can all get together and have a scotch or a soda, whatever, and kind of compare notes on that. There's a number of reasons why there's so much fluctuation. Sometimes it's because Google is going through a rollout of an update, either announced or unannounced. Another reason is that Google is fanatical about testing, and they are constantly testing and cycling through different ways to represent things. And ultimately, they've got one reason for doing that, and that is they're testing constantly to try to engage users more with their pages, with their search pages. And ultimately, they want users to be clicking on the ads that they offer because that's where their money comes from. So since they're constantly testing, I don't think you can ever count on it to be completely or even marginally static. Now, I'll tell you my own conspiratorial theory on that as well, Sarav, and that is I believe Google intentionally introduces a certain amount of chaos in their rankings picture so that companies will learn that they can't depend completely on organic search, and they come to the conclusion the only way to absolutely ensure stability is to make sure that they have a Google AdWords program running, even if they show strongly in organic search. So, we can speculate, but pretty much I would simply anticipate that that's going to continue, and that's why you need to spread your SEO efforts out over a broad basket of terms and target the themes for each of your pages and not get too hung up on where you rank for certain individual keywords.
Totally agree. Thanks for that comment, Ross. So also from Sarav, the question is proposed, are you hearing about the Fred update that I've also been reading about? And is there an update happening?
I have not dug into that. I've been underwater with too many commitments. I'll tell you the updates, and here if we go to, for example, Moz is a good source. They do a tracking on various updates. So if we go to Google Updates Moz, and you might want to take a look at this page, Sarov. It's Google Algorithm Change History. Pretty good service. And notice it shows Fred as unconfirmed. Google rolled out what appears to be a major update, but since it's Google won't confirm it, so they're saying it's unconfirmed. And notice how many of these are unnamed. Another major unnamed update on the 6th and the 1st. When I see a lot of turbulence, I'll go here because this, again, this is a good resource. But I'll give you a bit of just kind of an anecdote around this, and that is, in 2014, I believe it was, we had one of our best customers drop dramatically in search results just over from a day-to-day perspective. It's a moving company that we optimize for in Las Vegas, and Matt knows them very well. And when we went in, there was nobody was talking about an update at all. It took a lot of digging. I finally found a few SEO guys that were talking about their particular sites being hit. And from doing that, we were able to piece together something of an idea that it was a Panda update that was occurring. We made some changes to the website, and in that case, the client's website came back really rapidly and did better than it had before. And after we made those changes, then Moz finally put up an unconfirmed update that indicated that it had been happening. And let me see. They may even still have it. It was December 17th, I think. But in any case, my point of this is not to worry too much. Here it is, unnamed update. Okay, so this didn't show up. This is the one that didn't show up until quite a bit afterwards. And so sometimes you can't really just look on the basis of updates, but I understand the curiosity about that, and apparently that has been hitting a lot of sites.
Well, thank you very much. Looks like it's just about time to close the webinar at 2:01. So.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much, Matt. And let me jump back in here just to say that we do have another webinar. We actually have 2 more webinars on our schedule right now. And the next one is on keyword research. And so it's titled Keyword Research Isn't Just for SEO, Using Free Google Tools for Basic Market Research. And that is 2 weeks from today at the same time. So we hope to see you guys at the next webinar, and thank you very much for tuning into this one. And also, goodbye to you, Matt. Say hi to Las Vegas while you're there for me.
I will do that.
All right, take care, everybody.